How's it going, everyone? This is Hclat, and I've got a semi-final series for the Callous Invite play-in bracket. This is a good one. It's between Jim Cool and CyberOdin, playing on I Love You, Jesus. And this is really a story of two very different players across the board. I'll start with Jim. He's a relative newcomer to tours, but he's a very engaged community member. He has a YouTube channel where he posts all sorts of ADV content. He hosts like open tournaments in the Advanced League Discord, Mushicord, and all that. So that's cool. He's a very creative builder, but he really lacks a tournament track record. This is his first I would call it serious tournament, but he made it through his first round. And he's I guess only this series and one more away from earning a full spot to the Callous Invite. CyberOdin, on the other hand, is a older player who has a lengthier track record in ADV. He's had some very solid SPL performances. He's been in Callous Invite in the past. He's known for just very consistently good play. However, the knock on him is that his teams tend to be very repetitive. He has certain sets on a lot of mons that he goes back to sort of indiscriminately. Some might even argue putting them in the wrong spots. So it's possible that Jim could have a big scouting advantage here if he's picked up on that. It's worth noting this set was played on Saturday night, so CyberOdin will not have his power boost from playing on the Lord's Day. Wise by Jim to schedule that way. But yeah, I haven't seen the series yet. Don't know how it ends up. But yeah, let's get into game one. Jim Cool leading off with a Zapdos. Tyranitar for CyberOdin. Usually favors a T-Tar, might be able to click a Focus Punch or something. Jim goes to Milo on a Rock Slide. No Choice Band, maybe not even Max Attack, based on the 29%. Interesting. Indicates a bit of a stolly team from Jim. Nice double back to the Zapdos, getting the Scarm coming in. That's pretty good. CyberOdin likely will have to reveal some sort of passive special wall. Goes to Jirachi. Wish Protect Jirachi is one of those mons that CyberOdin uses a lot, and based on that damage, I think it's pretty likely that that's what we're seeing. Zapdos is going to keep attacking. He's never killing this Jirachi, but I think what he's trying to do is paralyze it, and just given all the different wishes and protects that Jirachi has to click to keep itself going. I think it's a pretty wise thing to fish for. Jim roars it out on the wish turn, revealing Claydol, so it looks like a pretty solid team again from CyberOdin as well. And he denies the wish by roaring again. So Jirachi's pretty chipped, that's good, but Tyranitar's back in, and no way Zapdos stays in. Claydol comes into the Rock Slide, that's good for Jim, but may now see if Tyranitar has HP Bug, or maybe even Crunch or something. But Odin goes back to Scarm, and nice little mid-ground by Jim Cool. Thunder from Jirachi. I was thinking that was going to be a Fire Puncher. But instead that indicates sort of a Calm Mind, maybe Wish Calm Mind given the stall things he's shown so far. But regardless, it does a lot to the Scarm. He's it very low. Only now will get his first layer, which for only a Leech Seed is a pretty good trade, but Jim's playing against Scarm pretty clearly is to use a Claydol to keep the layers off, and then use something like Zapdos or Jirachi to try to set up on it later on in the game. A logical last from Jim right now would be Dugtrio, so it's possible he goes to it on the Jirachi. It's a pretty obvious wish. No, he plays it a bit safer with Zapdos. Could be wrong about the Dugtrio, but from what I've seen, I think it makes a lot of sense here. For CyberOdin, it could be a lot of things. He definitely needs some sort of counterplay to Suicune. He hasn't shown any at this point. But other than that, he's really sort of checked most of his boxes as far as team building goes. So something like a Milotic, Gengar, Dugtrio, things like that would make a lot of sense here. Jirachi finally reveals its, I think it only now revealed its last move, showing that it's Body Slam and not Toxic. Not especially relevant here, but I guess it means that he's got some chance of just like RNGing through various mons, but it does also mean that Claydol won't really care about getting paralyzed. But it would care about Toxic if it, assuming it wouldn't be refresh or rest. So that's some nice information that favors Jim in this matchup. We have another Skarm versus Zap scenario. I think Jim is likely satisfied just sort of playing this loop out over and over until eventually he lands a paralysis into Jirachi. Which I think is a pretty wise way to go about this. He still hasn't gotten it. He might rest now. No. And I like that Fire Punch from Odin. It's a good fish on the Claydol, and he doesn't really want it paralyzed. The burn stat is going to be way more crippling to the Claydol than a paralysis would. So I think it's smartly played by both so far. We haven't seen any secondary effects, despite a lot of chances from both players. Here comes Skarm back in. Jirachi comes in. This provides more of a serious threat to Odin. He might not want it to go just like to the Jirachi right away, given that if it calm mines up too much, it could become a threat. But Odin doesn't seem to care. Claydol's back in on Jirachi. Might see him go for another Fire Punch. But no, he pulls it back instead. He's healing this Skarm up. This has a looks of a pretty slow game, but I think most are managing their resources well, giving themselves good chances to like gain small advantages with like secondary effects and whatnot. Tyranitar does become pretty threatening with spikes down, I will say. For CyberOdin. Like, Jim Cool will have to go to Melodic on it, it seems, which, with spikes down, becomes a bit sketchy. Here comes the Dugtrio. I was right about it. What does Odin do? Fire Punch. Body Slam would have, had he hit the 60% para, been huge there, but he doesn't. We've seen from the Zapdos, I'm pretty sure that's special defense Jirachi, so it's going to die from probably like 90-ish. So it should be dead right now. Yeah, which is huge. Also worth noting, I guess he did have a 20% burn chance on the Dugtrio, but he didn't get it. And that puts Jim Cool in a great position. He played that Dugtrio very patiently. He had a lot of opportunities to go for it, but Odin really like indicated that he was just like gonna go for the Fire Punches, which sort of invited the Dugtrio in, and Jim capitalized. So I would say big advantage to Jim right now. He's getting his Claydol low from the Zapdos. The old CyberOdin special is a Drill Peck Zapdos, which actually looks very strong in this position. If Jim Cool gets, I don't know, too predictable with this Celebi, he could run into trouble. I would absolutely scout for Drill Peck right now in Jim's shoes. This is looking like a CyberOdin special coming right up. And indeed, it is a Drill Peck, 48%. He does scout with Recover, taking 0, only risking a crit, which is, of course, pretty unlikely. So that's a pretty disciplined move by Jim. Now that surprise value is gone, this I don't know, the Zapdos is still pretty threatening. Like, it's a crit away from kind of breaking this game open. But the lack of surprise value now will hurt. Now I see Jim getting the Zapdos in for the first time since Jirachi goes down. Odin likely has no more like long-term answer to it. Well, that might just completely kill all chances. I assume it's a rest Zapdos, but Odin predicts, I don't know, anything but Skarm staying in with the Toxic, and ends up being wrong. And CyberOdin kind of nailed it. However, we say it was rest on Zapdos, meaning it was a far less risky play by Jim to go for that. He just is going to rest it off. Claydol in on Celebi. I think Jim's pretty safe. I don't think Odin can safely boom this Claydol on the Celebi right now, because that'll just open up like the Jirachi and Zapdos. And I think Jim is pretty alright with letting Skarm in and just burning these sleep turns with Zapdos. I actually would have considered going for HP Grass there. I thought Odin was going to double to Tyranitar. He goes to Zapdos instead, which is less immediately threatening. Jim can burn a sleep turn. Actually, he could wake all the way up if he wanted to. Zapdos clearly has a lot of attack investment and not a lot of special attack investment, so despite being an offensive Zapdos, it really isn't doing too much. That's a really good drill peck on the Claydol, on the switch out. Gets the Claydol really low, and now the Zapdos is looking dangerous. Jim sacks the Doug Trio, which leaves the Tyranitar in a position where really only the Melodic standing in his way. So CyberOdin is really just like finding his opportunities here very well. Jirachi doubles the Claydol on the Thunder Wave. I guess he gets some leftovers. Takes some spike damage to Jirachi. Maybe just wanted to scout the last move. Comes back in on what has to be a drill pack, yeah. And I think he's probably just going to need to attack this thing. He substitutes on what's probably a Thunder Wave. And wow, he's faster as well, so he's going to be able to Calm Mind up. CyberOdin will probably just like immediately go T-Tar right now. Or go Claydol, that works too. Psychic. Interesting. I'm surprised he didn't Calm Mind there. Because like Psychic would have blanked on Scarm and Tar, and like Calm Mind would have been better if Zap had stayed in. Also a weird Psychic from Claydol. I don't know why he wouldn't Earthquake the sub away. He has Earthquake, right? Yeah. Okay, well Claydol's sitting at -1 SPDF, and Jirachi has +1 special attack. I don't think it'll kill right now, but it would be pretty close. Nice move by Odin. I don't know. This has been a very interesting game. I can't really tell who's winning. I really expected when Jim got that Jirachi down that the Zapdos and like the Jirachi would sort of go through everything, but I felt like a very puzzling sequence for Jim to sub and then click Psychic. It must be like Thunderbolt last, which is really not good when you're facing a Claydol. Like Claydol completely walls a Jirachi, if I'm right about that. Because I don't think that any other click would, or any other set would be clicking Psychic on the Claydol switch in there. We'll see if Odin picks up on that, realizes that Claydol is a very key defensive tool here. Wow, he drill pecks again into the Jirachi. Yeah, great play. I guess he realized that like if Jirachi Calm Minds up, he can just go to Claydol, so no reason not to just like see if he can catch a double out. Jim's sort of trying to dance around the Zapdos, having it accrue more and more damage from the Toxic. I will say, so we talked about like the win conditions from Jim as like the Jirachi and the Zapdos. Milotic looks pretty strong into what CyberOdin has showed. Zapdos, of course, checks it, but it's going to die soon to Toxic, and like its EVs are definitely not optimized for killing a Milotic. It's optimized for like sniping Celebi or Drill Peck. So it's possible that Jim's game plan is now to set up the Milotic to sort of outlive the Zapdos and hopefully get the Claydol like low enough that it can not get boomed on and whatnot. And depending on Jim's last, it could be in the clear. Doug Trio, for example, is a pretty logical last that Milotic would have no problems with. If it's like a Suicune, Milotic's not going to win. If it's a Gengar, it's hard to say. And wow, another just like, I don't know the right word for it, like double prediction or just like, I don't know. But Odin has gotten a lot of mileage over just like continuing to spam attacks, and Jim has sort of doubled his Mons, or attempted to double his Mons into stuff, and has been caught off a few times by that. I get what Jim's going for, definitely. I don't think any of them were terrible plays, but Odin's really capitalized with a similar maneuver a few times in this game already. With the Clade all down, Skarm now has all 3 layers up. All 3 mons are still weak to spikes. And yeah, they're not going anywhere. Jirachi switches in on Claydol, probably trying to get a boom, or maybe, yeah, I guess he's trying to get that double. Claydol just continuing to check the Jirachi until the end of time. Thunder is the last move, so yeah, this Claydol completely walls the Jirachi, and I think Odin is intelligently just sort of just like going back and forth between Skarm and Claydol, just like whittling Jim down with the spikes. Like Jim kind of has to go to like Milo or Celebi right now, because like Jirachi isn't gonna get through. Jirachi's actually just like dead to spikes, so it can't even switch out. So yeah, it's now just like these 2 guys versus the world. Again, we don't know the T-Tar set. CyberOdin really likes using DD HP Grass Tar, which does not have a very good time against Celebi. And of course, a Milotic is pretty threatening in this position too. So I don't want to call this game over, even though it's like a 5-2 with 3 layers down and Jim only has walls left. You gotta think that Milotic has Refresh, so it's not gonna care about that Toxic too much. Which it does, yeah. As it gets roared out by Skarm. Celebi comes in. Odin can't really switch anything into this. Like, he can like drill peck in until the end of time. Only 29, that's nothing. Seems like some physical defense on this Celebi. Might be why he's taking that drill peck so well as well. Also, I know Odin likes to max out the physical attack on that Zapdos. Yeah, Celebi kind of eats it like it's nothing. Free Surf here. Oh god, it's Milotic Blast. Oh man. So that means that Jim is honestly just gonna die to these spikes. I think that means it's curtains. Assuming Milotic has Refresh. If it doesn't have Refresh, actually, I think Jim is maybe favored. But yeah, we're gonna see basically an end game where CyberOdin can switch as much as he wants, and Jim has to switch on Spike, so he's gonna eventually lose his health. I don't really see any way that these mons can like hurt each other. CyberOdin's going for freezes on Milotic. I hope for his sake that he has Refresh, because if he doesn't, he's actually just like kind of dead to this thing. Yeah, he does. Okay. And that also means that like Jim having Toxic doesn't actually have any chance of like hacking through the Milotic. Whereas like eventually Milotic's probably gonna get a freeze. Oh boy, I'm gonna speed this replay up because I think we're just gonna see a bunch of attacks in a row, and eventually I think CyberOdin's gonna win this game. And I will give my opinions if anything interesting happens, which I am not expecting. The set did happen at like 11 p.m. On a Saturday for Odin, so it's possible that like, I don't know, bedtime is a win condition for Jim Cool, who's an Australian player and playing in his morning on Sunday. So I expect this game to go like, to like maybe be spread outable for like 200 turns. Maybe the attrition goes to Jim Cool's favor, like for the rest of the set. What percentage is this Milo at this point? 88. So he can switch to it freely if he wants to. And yeah, Zap's at 58. So like, he does have to be pretty safe about like not switching it into an attack. But at the same time, if he gets it in and like Milotic has to recover here, he could just probably end the game. There he goes. Zapdos should be able to kill Milotic from here with Thunderbolt. Yeah. Yeah, so I think the game was just over there. Let's see, Celebi was at 50, so assuming Thunderbolt killed Milotic, which I imagine it did, he had everything just like walled out. Like Like, he could have gone to Celebi, which would have then died to Drill Peck. So, yeah. Well done by Odin. He played that game very well. I think his matchup was all right. I think Jim Cool's team kind of does like give up a lot of just like space to Skarmory. And Odin really took advantage of that. Forced scenarios where like Jim Cool kind of had to try to like make somewhat risky doubles to get momentum, and Odin just like called them out very consistently. Kind of showing why he's got his reputation for strong play and why he consistently finds his way like pretty deep into brackets. So yeah, well done, and a pretty stalling matchup. That's not what I was expecting, especially from Jim. I see him as a pretty offensive player. So we'll see if either of these players mix it up for the rest of the series. Let's go to game 2. Jim Cool down a game, leads with a Skarmory, CyberOdin with a Salamence. Jim Cool switches out, covering both like a Magneton and the Fire Blast, so that's a pretty safe move. We might see him go back to Skarm right now on Metagross. No, he sings. Interesting. Okay. He misses. It's like a 55% move, so no surprise, but it does mean he's like trying to actually like get some progress with this Blissey. He was a Charizard on the Metagross, which is spicy. Always a spicy mon. Flamethrower, crit. We're gonna see if he has something to deal with Salamence. Salamence probably can't. Oh, well, that'll do it. Overheat. I was expecting something like HP Ice or Dragon Claw, but no, he just goes for the big old fire move. Just takes it out. CyberOdin has what looks like a... Ooh, nice move. I was going to say it looks like a Skarm beatdown team, but no, this is a Mag offense. He doubles the Mag onto the Skarm. Doesn't get the KO. That might have been a min roll with Magnet. He also might just not have Magnet. So maybe unlucky. We'll see. Jim Cool has like what seems like a very up-tempo flavor to Skarm offense with this Charizard. He goes for Overheat, trying to hit like a T-Tar or Snorlax coming in. Instead just does like 5,000 damage to the Magneton, which Jim just sacks. Gengar coming in on the Snorlax. He might try to pivot to a Tar right now, because Shadow Ball is likely coming. This Will-O-Wisp, yeah, it misses a lot. And 94% Shadow Ball hurts. That might be an offensive Gengar. I don't know my EVs too well, but I feel like it shouldn't do that much. And a pretty conservative Will-O-Wisp there from Odin. I guess he may have been trying to like from Jim. He might have been trying to like trick him into respecting a Boom or respecting like a Destiny Bond or something. But yeah, he's having none of it. Crit Earthquake on the Snorlax. Being burned, I don't think he can kill a Swampert from here anyway, but pretty aggressive by Jim to just like attack it. But he finds himself in the advantage. Swampert for Odin, I imagine this is going to be Endeavor. Indeed, it doesn't show any leftovers. And just goes straight for the Hydro Pump. That didn't do anything. Unless my mental math is wrong. Might mean that Jim Cool has like a Spadef Swampert, unless I'm going crazy. But he Earthquakes it twice, is now into Salac range. Worth noting, he's using Hydro Pump and not Surf, so it can miss. It also has used 3 of his 8 PP. He's only got 5 left. Will he Endeavor on the Blissey switching in? No, he doesn't, but he misses the Hydro Pump instead. I know a lot of people really subscribe to the thought that like inaccurate moves like Hydro Pump are just asking for that to happen. I don't personally follow that train of thought, but score 1 for them there. Odin reveals his last mon. It's DD Ments with HP Grass, which looks like exactly what he needs. Jim Cool going to Blissey against a Tyranitar not showing leftovers, which is dire straits. That's not a very confident move at this point. He doesn't do the noob move of just like trying to status it when it almost certainly has Lumberry. Is he gonna counter? No. Okay. He hasn't flinched. Blissey is gonna die this turn. If the last mon for him is Dugtrio or Aerodactyl, he's actually gotten himself into a pretty good spot, and it is Arrow. So actually, if Odin had DD'd one more time, I don't know if he would have certainly killed the Blissey, but he wouldn't have been outsped by the Aerodactyl. And I think unless Odin is agility, this game is over. It is agility. Wow, okay. Charizard is at 100 right now. Very smart play by Jim there, because if he had taken the match, he could have got boomed on for the tie by Charizard. That was actually very interesting. Metagross shows that it didn't have Rock Slide and will die to the Charizard. I think he needed a mash raise to have a chance to win that, and he didn't have any way to get through the Charizard without booming. It is worth noting that, actually, I guess if that was a Rock Slide Metagross, Jim Cool was just done regardless. So there was no downside to doing that switch with Charizard, and that was just like straight up the right play. But well done on him by figuring that out. That probably shouldn't have been a winnable endgame for him, to be honest, when Blissey is the mon that you're using to get through the T-Tar. Actually, let me go back. I'm suddenly questioning even going Blissey. Yeah, no, that was right, because if he had gone Aerodactyl, T-Tar would have just danced again and won on the Earthquake, unless he like tricked him into respecting HP fighting or something. So yeah, I guess that Blissey is right, and I'll give Odin the benefit of the doubt on not Dragon Dancing a second time. I don't know if he would have been able to kill the Blissey had he done that. But yeah, it let the arrow come in and check the T-Tar. And yeah, well done by Jim, sort of bringing that one back. That mag double by Odin is pretty nasty. Got him into a pretty good spot. But Jim pulls it out, and we have ourselves a rubber match to go on to the play-in bracket finals. Let's go to game 3. I think the winner of this play is the winner of Sadly and Pack, but I could be wrong about that. I don't actually know how the brackets work. But yeah, without further ado, game 3. Let me put... How do I switch sides here? I don't watch enough replays. There we go. Jim Cool still on the bottom. Let's see how it goes. T-Tar for Odin. Another Zapdos for Jim. Repeat of the game 1 matchup. And he just stays in. Makes me think he's got a Dugtrio, but that's not always certain. And good thing he didn't just like raw BP to a Dugtrio, because he would have gotten owned by Ice Beam. Odin switches out. Jim Cool is sort of down to keep just like trading blows. SS Spadef Zapdos, I guess, because it took like nothing from that Ice Beam. And that T-Tar doesn't have much bulk either. So yeah, it looks like another just like Scarm. Actually, this is the first. No, this is the second Scarm balance, but it's not going to be another like Zapdos, Claydol, spikeless thing like Jim Cool's game 1 team. He goes Claydol, perhaps scouting out. I was going to say a Magneton. Breloom is now interesting. He might go to Zapdos here. No, he goes Breloom. I mean, he goes Claydol. This may indicate that he's got like a Gengar or something. I kind of hope he does, because going Zapdos into this thing isn't a great look. Going Scarm into it's going to take a lot of damage. He's just going to keep the Claydol in, hope for the best. It doesn't take much. It took nothing, so that must be a lot of physical defense on that Claydol. And it has now burned 2 sleep turns, so it has a 1 in 3 of waking up now. Odin goes for HP Ghost, I imagine. That is another one of those sets that he runs a lot. I don't know if Jim picked up on that and specifically played that sequence that way, but that was actually a really big interaction to force out the Breloom, because they can't do anything in the Skarmory, assuming it respects Drill Peck. So now, despite what looked like a very threatening Breloom, Jim Cool is really stabilized, didn't really lose much health at all. Claydol will probably, like, it'll wake up either immediately or in no more than 2 more turns. And this Snorlax in like one of those classic Snorlax positions where there's like sand, there's spikes, and it really is not going to come in too many times. It's probably going to boom right here. Yeah, and Jim Cool goes to Scarm, doesn't even die. He's in a great spot right now. Suicune comes in for Odin. Zapdos should be able to handle this. We'll see if Jim Cool gets greedy and tries to save the Scarm or not. He does not. I think that's a good play. He probably clicked Roar and will not let the Suicune like Calm Mind up or anything like that. And by showing Hydro Pump, that really indicates that Blissey is going to be able to like handle this thing. It's probably not like Calm Mind Rest, where like going to Blissey and Seismic Tossing like this would actually do anything. And yeah, we see with the 29 from Seismic Toss that the Suicune doesn't really have any HP investment. So this Blissey should be good to go. Suck last mons for a second for Jim Cool. You got to think it's like maybe a Dugtrio, but more likely like a Steel type, maybe a Metagross or a Jirachi. And for Odin, he hasn't really shown a real rock resist. I'm thinking probably like Metagross Salamence for Odin. I think Jim is just like in a very like stable spot. We know the T-Tar has Ice Beam. Probably just like a good old Mixtar. You wouldn't think it's Pursuit if the Breloom is carrying HP Ghost. I also didn't pay attention to whether the HP on Scarm showed Ghost or Bug, but I think it's Ghost. And yeah, we see a Jirachi. I said Metagross, but same idea. Probably Calm Mind, although that didn't take very much from the Surf. So it could be another Wish Protect one. An immediate Dugtrio from Jim Cool on the Calm Mind. That's exactly what he wanted. Jirachi will certainly die. The Breloom doesn't have Mach Punch. So like this Dugtrio might be able to just like play the sacrifice game and just win. And yeah, as a guess, it's a Salamence. You kind of see that a lot with teams that are weak to Dug, trying to like capitalize on like this scenario to sweep the game. And does get a pretty threatening Dragon Dance, and it's probably going to kill the Zapdos. But I think, well, I don't know. I think if Blissey doesn't flinch at least, it'll be able to get the Salamence low enough that the Suicune can finish it. He goes Suicune now, which I was expecting Jim to go Blissey. Have I missed? Is his Blissey chipped? 62, so maybe it would die. I could be wrong. I missed that decal. Ooh, wow, okay. So I was guessing that Suicune would be like mono Surf and not have any way to actually hurt the Salamence. It would have Roar and would be able to do like, I don't know, 15 to 20 per turn with Surf. But being able to actually like just straight up kill it with Ice Beam, or if it's like a special defense Salamence, it'll do like 85. Counter on the Brick Break from Blissey. That's a Sing counter Bliss. That's wild. Or is this the wrong game? Does he not have Sing? No, he doesn't have Sing this game. I was thinking the last game. But he nails the Brick Break. I think that was the first Brick Break the T-Tar used. That was the second one, but still. Nails it. Mach Punch does come out for Breloom. Here comes Dugtrio. Gonna Aerial Ace it. Mach Punch could crit right now, which would be massive. It does not. An Aerial Ace comes in for the kill. Now it's Salamence versus the world. I imagine Jim just goes straight to Suicune and just Ice Beams. I think he will get an Ice Beam off. I think it's possible that Salamence lives and then kills with 2 hidden powers. I think it's also possible that 2 hidden powers doesn't even kill. Let's see how this goes. Rock Slide going for the flinch. And no, Ice Beam just straight up kills, so Rock Slide was definitely the right play there. Really comes down to EVs. I know if that's like a no special attack Suicune, then it's not all that hard for the Salamence to win, or to live. However, I think like Salamence had pretty bad odds of getting through that. Also, like this Claydol had a ton of defense, so it probably would have been able to eat. I don't know if it would have eaten 2, but it would have eaten at least 1. I think it had a 1 in 3 chance of waking up this turn. So this was a relatively clean win for Jim Cool game 3, I think. He played this early game very well. That sequence where he got the Scarm in, or like first he stayed in on Focus Punch and then got Scarm on Hidden Power. That was, in my opinion, just like the game decider. And then he also just like got the Rachi correctly with the Dugtrio. Like say the Jirachi had like clicked Psychic or something on the Dug coming in, like Dug would have eaten it, but it would have put the Breloom into would have put him into like Breloom Mach Punch range. So those 2 sequences really just like I think put this game out of reach. That said, I think both players played quite well throughout this whole series. Jim Cool salvaging that game 2 endgame. It looked like game over for him when the when the Tyranitar had set up and he went to Blissey when he was at like full health. I was like, what are you doing? But no, he pulled it out. And he goes on to the finals of the play-in bracket. I don't know who he's playing. I know Sadly and Pack play each other later today. And then the other two spots are Arctic and PK Leech. I think they're playing each other. So yeah, that means Jim Cool is playing the winner of Sadly and Pack. So yeah, tune into that game. Thanks for tuning into these games. I will see y'all either next week or in the main event.